What's up, everybody? Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. I'm Katie Mox, and today is the last episode of Moxie Bets, at least on this platform. You never know what the future can hold. So if we're going to have the last episode, then we got to bring back the guy that's been with us the entire time on our very first episode and throughout the last 2 years, Danny Brasco, Mr. Monday, Mr. First Day, my day one and my day final. Danny B, how we doing?
What an honor, Katie, man. I love this show. I love hanging with you, getting to work with you, chop it up, talk bets, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of Omaha and all the great people here. So let's give it one last hurrah. Let's cash one more time.
Yes, let's do it. And obviously it would be fitting. I'm wearing my Kittle shirt today that the last episode, we talk about the NFC West. I know that I've read some of the comments over the last 2 years, like, this is just a 49ers podcast. This person's just a homer. Yeah, eat it up one last time, people. We're going to talk about the 49ers and the NFC West. Now, if you've been watching over the last few weeks, we have been previewing a lot of these NFC teams. We did the NFC East last week, and we did the I guess we did the AFC in one of them. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. So let's talk about these 49ers. They are favored to win the division at minus 225. High win total, 11. And they are also tied as Super Bowl favorites, plus 575. Danny, I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. I feel like the last few years, even though the 49ers have been stacked, there still has been just a sliver of like underdog in there where it's like, when Trey Lance was starting, it's like, okay, you have this stacked roster, but like Trey Lance has never really played before. So like, how is he going to be? And then he gets injured and then Jimmy comes back and they have this amazing season and then Jimmy gets injured and then Purdy comes through and it was crazy. And that's like, oh, well, yeah, you got this stacked team, but like, can Purdy do it again or was it a fluke? And now it's like, there's no excuse really for the 49ers, to surprise anyone. If anything, it could be a letdown. And we have seen time and time again that teams that lose the Super Bowl and try to come back don't necessarily come back and be Super Bowl ready. Now, the last time the 49ers won the Super Bowl, I hope to God that doesn't happen again. Good thing we're not going back-to-back games at MetLife like we did in that 2020 season. However, I want to say, yeah, over the 11 wins, but I'm scared.
I'm scared. If you scared, go to church, Katie. By the way, by the way, you make a podcast. See if you don't talk about your favorite team all the time. That's what I would do too. And the Niners.
Thank you.
The Niners are a lot of fun to talk about, especially with all the offseason drama going around now. Around Brandon Aiyuk.
Sorry for winning.
Yeah, right. And this win total set at 11, the flat 11 is super interesting because I see 11 and a half elsewhere. And that 12th win is going to be so hard to get. To get 12 wins in the NFL, damn hard. You look at the division and it looks like on paper it's the Niners running away, right? With the Rams, the Seahawks with a new head coach. But the Rams, we thought were kind of rebuild last year. And they surprised a lot of people. Yeah. The Seahawks, even though Pete Carroll era is done, their roster looks pretty solid. And, of course, the Cardinals are still, struggling at the bottom. They're building. I don't know how much of that's going to change. But what I want to say is I think this division is going to be more competitive maybe than the perception might be. Yep. And like you said, Super Bowl hangover is very real. Contract disputes going on. We'll see what's going on there. But, I'm not going to lay the Niners as a favorite to win the division, but I certainly think they will. And I think they can get 11 wins. I don't know about that 12th one. So I'll take the over 11 just because I think they'll go 5-1, maybe even 6-0 in the division. But that 12th win is going to be tough to get. They got some tough teams to play.
Yeah, I'm a 49ers fan, and I know everyone thinks I'm such a homer. I'm not touching any 49ers futures. Last year I felt a lot. Not that I don't feel confident. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like it's a little scary. But speaking of contract disputes, it wouldn't be a 49ers offseason without some contract disputes. Our guy, Brandon Aiyuk, he's been trying to get a deal done with the 49ers basically this entire offseason. It was just, I feel like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And he was like, I don't want to leave San Francisco. This is where my home is. This is where my family is. And then all of a sudden he's having a conversation with Jaden Daniels. And I think his wife or his girlfriend or whoever is recording it. And he's like, they don't want me anymore. I swear to God, they don't want me back. Obviously that is false. That is false, Brandon Aiyuk, and you absolutely know it. And the 49ers have disputed that. Now, maybe they don't want to pay you whatever it is that you think that you deserve to be paid, which I hope it's not Justin Jefferson money, because let's get real here, Aiyuk. You know what I mean? Let's get really, really real. You are not Justin Jefferson. I love you. I love Brandon Aiyuk. I wanted to be a 49er. But I wanted to continue this podcast even. Like, we don't always get what we want. Like, there are outside factors in everything. And sometimes you have to put your ego to the side and realize that it's just business. And of course, still get the right deal that you want for yourself. But what is your thoughts on Brandon Aiyuk? I still think he's going to be a 49er. I think it's going to be fine. This is very, reminiscent of Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, it probably ends that way. I would predict that as well. But the perception of they don't want me anymore, I think, is like kind of like you said. It's that John Lynch doesn't want to give him the number he wants, and wide receivers at the top class in this like elite company, which he now considers himself in, which I've certainly put not like you said, not in the Jay Jetta, Jamar Chase class, but not that far from it, right? Maybe a tier below. They're getting 24, 25 mil a year now. So he wants that number. And I think Lynch and the Niners front office is going to stay firm at whatever their number is. He's like, wow, you really don't want to make that adjustment for me? Like, I'm not worth that. They must not want me anymore. And he's talking to Jaden Daniels, who's going over to the Commanders, who have, cap space and a new coach and some other old San Francisco coaching there. So it could be a fit potentially. Yeah. Another murmur I heard was the Patriots, who have the most cap space out of any team, I believe, full rebuild mode, and they just drafted Drake May.
He does not want to go there.
Right? That's like a wasteland. You don't think Aiyuk would walk into a wasteland, no?
No.
So then it's gotta be hold out for the Niners. It might get icky, but it's either team up with Jaden Daniels and shock the world, or hold out for as much money as you can get and do the Deebo.
I just don't understand these weird, like, public chess games that these players think that they are playing. And I don't know, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I feel like, I don't know, the man always wins. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's life. All right. So one cool thing about Omaha is the receiver docu-series is coming out on Netflix. George Kittle, here he is on my shirt, and Deebo Samuel are a part of this. I thought quarterback was so well done. It was so interesting, obviously, to see Patrick Mahomes in a season where he wins the Super Bowl and what that takes. And then, we all fell in love with Kirk Cousins, and it was just such a cool series. I'm so excited about this receiver series, even though Kittle technically is not a receiver. He is a tight end, but my guy catches a lot of balls and runs in for a lot of touchdowns. So that just is what it is. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be interesting. And of course, having two 49ers on it is exciting for me. And then they go all the way to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it goes into overtime and doesn't go in our favor. But, you go up against Patrick Mahomes. That's what happens in overtime.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see Kittle on receiver. It was a really well done show. I really enjoyed quarterback in the first season, and the tight ends are receivers these days, so they walk right into that class. They're so dynamic that it's a hybrid position at this point. But Kittle's such a cool personality. He's a perfect person to have it on. He said that his wife convinced him. A lot of people love their relationship. They're just
Claire is just both of them just seem like salt of the earth, so wonderful. Everybody loves Claire, so I'm excited to have her shine as well.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They're just like down to earth, like cool, relatable, quirky, funny, silly people that love football and have an interesting, adventurous life. So I'm excited. That's appointment TV for me for sure.
It's kind of funny because, again, I'm a 49ers fan, so I'm familiar with a lot of the WAGs and follow them on social and stuff. And obviously, Christina Juszczyk had a huge year last year, making that jacket for a ton of celebrities, but obviously most notably Taylor Swift, and she just blew up and she's got millions of followers now. And now I feel like it's like Claire's turn, right? And then, so I'm just excited for the WAGs, excited for the ladies. Speaking of ladies, Brock Purdy got married to his college sweetheart in the off season. And I was looking at his touchdown prop, season prop. It's at 26.5. My guy had 31 passing touchdowns last season. Why do you think this dipped so low?
I was going to say that too. Is it Aiyuk concerns? Is it concerns that he'll lose a key weapon? And a lot of people in the wake of this are talking about who's actually the more important receiver. All of a sudden, is Aiyuk better than Deebo? And I hear a lot of these conversations. Well, they have McCaffrey's dynamic play to be able to do a lot of what Deebo does, right? Aiyuk is essential to how they run the offense. And there's some arguments to be made.
Aiyuk is, but then you got Ricky Pearsall that they just got too. So it's...
You took the words from my mouth, Katie. It's not like they've dropped off in depth. I actually am pretty high on Ricky Pearsall. I think he's going to fit really well into the system. I think Purdy is going to like him a lot too. So, no, he's not going to have an Aiyuk season in the first year. But is Aiyuk in contract dispute worth 6 touchdowns on the line. Like you said, he had 31. So shouldn't it be 31 and a half or 32, right?
Yeah,
I think he goes over. 26 is fairly low for a guy that's
I
improving
agree.
every year. I'll take it. I'll take the over.
I'll take the over as well, and I think, traditionally the 49ers have been well, and they still are a run first offense, right? And
Yeah.
really heavy with the running backs, but Shanahan trusts Brock Purdy more than he has any, quarterback that he's had, in his time here at San Francisco, and they have been passing the ball a lot more. He allows Purdy to throw the ball a lot more than he did Jimmy Garoppolo or some of these other guys. So, I agree. I'm gonna take this over 26.5. CMC is the favorite to win the Offensive Player of the Year at plus 650. Now, he won last year. I don't know when the last time someone won back-to-back Offensive Player of the Years. Do you?
Nor do I. I'll have to
Yeah.
get our producers on that research
It
kick. But
it seems look, I think Christian McCaffrey can do anything, but to back-to-back offensive player in the year seems like a stretch.
maybe, but like if anyone's live to do it, it's him, right? Guy does
Yeah.
absolutely everything. It might go to a receiver. Maybe Jay Jetta comes back with a fury. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to take a shot at it, you're going to have your chances. The guy's going to get 20 carries, 10 catch, 10 receptions every game or chances every game. So
Yeah.
I love CMC, man. He's fun to watch.
So fun to watch. All right, let's go on to their biggest rivals, the LA Rams. And like you said, last year the Rams, everybody thought they were gonna take a step back. It was gonna be a rebuild year. And then Puka Nakua just came out the gates hot. The combination of Stafford and Puka and Cooper Cup and Kyron Williams was just electric. And then on the defensive side, you had Aaron Donald, who strikes fear into the hearts of quarterbacks across the league. However, he retired. Good for him. I mean, I think every quarterback sighed a little bit of a relief when Aaron Donald retired. They did have a pretty good draft trying to bulk up that defensive line. I'm not sure that it's going to be necessarily the same, but I don't really see the Rams taking any kind of a huge step back here. I think they certainly have what it takes to give the 49ers a run for their money. Now, they still have not beat the Niners in the regular season. Yes, the last game of the season when both teams were resting significant starters, they did end up winning that game. But they haven't been able to do that in the regular season for, I don't know, like a really long amount of time. Their win total 8.5, significantly lower than the 49ers, right? If you look at this 11 versus the 8.5, do you think they can go over this?
I do. I think the Rams will go 9-8 this season, and I think they'll be, or maybe even
Yeah.
10-7, and
Yeah.
they'll be competitive. And I had them being a rebuild roster all the way last year, and they really impressed me. Puka ended up being the
I love
best
them.
fantasy pickup and all across leagues, right?
Hmm.
Almost won me
Hmm.
the league. Absolute stud. Him complemented with Cooper Cup was the dynamic duo that we were so thrilled. But all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, they're very deep at
Yes.
receiver.
Yes.
Stafford, although Katie loves to fade Stafford and successfully cash his interception props, he
Yeah.
was diming. He was playing
Yeah.
injured. He's hitting the no look Mahomes like passes, and they look good. They loaded up at the offensive line too. They got Jonah Jackson from the Lions, more protection.
Yeah.
They drafted Blake Corum
Yep.
along with Kyron Williams. So if that run game, which is sort of at times
Hmm.
non-existent, if they can complement a good pass game there, wow, that's a dynamic offense. And like you said, Aaron Donald might be gone, but that defensive line's still good. They got Byron
Yeah.
Young,
Yep.
Kobe Turner. I mean, I really like the young guys on that team.
Yeah.
So if they can shore up on defense, I believe they finished 22nd last season, then they'll be competitive. So I'd like them to win 9 games this season. I would go over the total. I like the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams were the team that they started off kind of slow and then they really started heating up after their bye week. I think they won every single game after the bye week except for against the Ravens, and I think they had to go into overtime in order to do that. And that was arguably, one of the best teams at the time. In the NFL, and so that was the team that nobody wanted to see if they made it to the playoffs. And unfortunately, that didn't happen for them. But oh no, they did make it to a playoff, right? They went and they
They
lost against
did,
the
yeah.
Lions.
But you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. It was the team that
yeah,
nobody wanted to face. They were like, man,
yeah.
that's the sneaky dark horse wild card that I prefer to get a pass on. And Katie,
Well,
another argument for their win total, I'll say, they have a stretch in October where they have a bye and then 4 home games. That's rare in the NFL. You don't get to
yeah.
just chill at home and have your bye. They could end up going 3-1 in those games, and I like that to get them towards 9 wins.
Well, and you think about it, like their schedule is not necessarily an easy schedule. They see 6 playoff teams, but only 2 of those are away games. So they will have that home field advantage. I mean, I would argue the home field advantage isn't that great. When it comes to football in LA, it's starting to heat up. It's starting to get better. But LA has been a transplant town. They didn't have a team for a long time, and so there's a lot of other fan bases that live in LA, more so than I think actual Rams fans. But I agree with you. I'll take this over 8.5 as well. I think this is a 9-10 win team. And you brought up Matthew Stafford interceptions. Unfortunately, the books have started to catch up and they started juicing him. There's no official line, obviously, for the amount of interceptions he can throw in a game. Now, he did have 11 interceptions in just 15 games played last season. You think he throws at least one a game this season? I mean, I think there was like a stretch where he like didn't have one, which was crazy because normally he's good for one all the time. But maybe with this new defensive line taking time to heat up, I don't know.
Yeah, Jonah Jackson too on the offensive line, a little more protection. He is a gunslinger though, and shooters gonna shoot. So you take your chances, like they say in fighting. You're not gonna walk in the rain and not get wet, right? You're gonna have to throw one at some point. So if you're gunslinging around, he's gonna have the potential to throw them. But as many as he throws, Katie, he throws touchdowns right back on top of them. So I'll give the compliment to your Matt Stafford haterade. I think he'll throw plenty of picks. You can catch the interception props in a lot of games, but they also throw a lot of touchdowns. So I'll look at those props.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for correcting me. Offensive line for him, but the thing is, I actually like Matt Stafford. I do, and I actually kind of like his wife Kelly Stafford, who I didn't think that I would like originally. But she's kind of fun. I like that she's tough cookie. And she doesn't really take any when it comes to her husband, which I appreciate from you, Kelly. All right, moving on here. Oh well, okay. So to win the NFC West plus 380. Obviously, you think the 49ers are going to win it. You're not going to take that bet. If you were going to take anyone in this division, I would assume it'd be the Rams at plus 380. I mean, there is some good value there considering this is a team that you're thinking at least gets 10 wins.
Yeah, agreed. If you want to take like a plus money shot at an upset division winner that maybe the Niners have a key injury and the Rams make a run and they can knock them off, plus 380 on the Rams would be the play. I would take Rams to make the playoffs at plus 105. I think they will make the wild card again this year.
Yeah, and we're not betting on them to win the Super Bowl because you got to get through San Francisco. All right, so we're both in there on that. Now, moving on to the Seahawks. This is going to be a very interesting season for the Seahawks. It is their first without Pete Carroll. They did hire former Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald in there as the rookie head coach. To me, I feel like everyone was super high on Seattle last year and thought that Seattle could potentially give the 49ers a run for their money, that this was going to be a playoff team. We saw Geno the year before really come into who everybody thought that he could be. And he regressed a little bit last year. I mean, when you look at the touchdown passes, he dropped off from 30 in 2022 just to 20 last year. Now he did deal with some injury stuff as well, but I don't know. The jury's still out with me and Geno Smith. He has moments where he looks great, and then he looks like the old Geno in some moments as well. Their win total 7.5. Do you think the 7.5 is kind of like a little like trickly too low? Like people are not valuing this team as much, giving maybe Pete Carroll a little too much credit?
It's tight, maybe, because you got to give Pete Carroll his credit. He was a damn good coach. But you wonder how
never met a piece of gum he didn't like. I mean, every time they showed him, I was like, how is his jaw not falling off?
Dude's got steel jaw for real.
Yeah.
He can like chew through wire. But Mike Macdonald, first year coaching, like I like him. I wonder how it's going to go. The key factor to me that I saw here when I'm looking, it's a tight total. I think the book's got this perfectly right. Like it's going to be 7 or 8. They're either going to go 7 and 10 or 8 and 9. That's exactly how I feel. They have to travel, I believe, more than any other West Coast team in the league. And as a Niners fan, the travel spots East to West Coast can be the hardest. The Niners actually have a pretty solid, convenient travel schedule this year.
Last year they had the worst travel schedule. Yeah,
and that must be why, because I was like, they were conference champions. They got sort of like a fairly convenient one. Well, because last year they had.
I think they had the second most miles flown or traveled last year.
And this year, that's going to belong to the Seahawks. So you put together a brand new head coach. Look, I like a lot of the pieces they have on their roster. They're a scrappy team. They also added Sam Howell in case it doesn't go well with Geno. Sam Howell's got the juice, man. He can do his thing.
Yeah.
He showed us a lot of talent in Washington. With a better team, maybe Howell thrives and comes into his full potential. Of course, he turns the ball over a lot, but he's learning on the job. I could see Howell having potentially even more success if they decide to go from Geno to him.
Starts getting shaky.
They always say, though, and I wonder how you feel about this, if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Who's the play? Is it Smith or Howell?
Well, but that's the thing, everybody says that, and again, like, I'm biased because 'cause I'm a 49er fan, but I'm like, a couple years ago, thank God we had a million quarterbacks
Yeah,
because we went through a million quarterbacks, and if you look at last year, there were more backup quarterbacks playing in the league than starters almost. I mean, some teams went through several quarterbacks, so I think traditionally that's the way to look at it, saying like, "Oh, if you got 2, you got none," but I'm like, "Give me all the quarterbacks because 'cause
right.
they're dropping like flies."
Yeah, like in basketball,
But
positionless
you think
basketball.
about it, the totals have been lower,
Yeah,
unders have been hitting, defense a few years ago, it was offense, 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 and now it's really, really a defensive-minded game, like, I feel like defenses are the it's, almost like back in the '80s or something, like, this is very, very strong, so that's why I think quarterbacks are going down.
yeah. I think a lot more guys are going to start just to play quarterback. If the fourth guy on the roster, like the same way that the Zamboni guy is the guy who jumps in as emergency goalie, like you're
Yeah.
going to see like a lot of like receivers that I'm like, wow, guy can throw the rock. Like guys are so talented this year, so in
Yeah.
this modern era. So yeah, I kind of want to see how I'll end up sidetracked, but I want to see how I'll take the
I
job.
do too. Well, that plays into Geno Smith touchdown passes, 21 and a half. He had 20 last season. Based on everything you said, it kind of feels like you think Howell might get a shot here. So, are we looking at this under?
Yeah, like I almost feel like rookie head coach has the chance to operate and do his thing. So if he likes the way Howell's running the offense more, this is all speculation. I have no idea how he's going
Yeah.
to like running the offense with Geno Smith, but uh, I guess I'll lean over because 21.5 is so low, but it does almost imply that he doesn't make it through the full season.
It definitely does. My money's on Howell. Give me this under for Geno Smith. And the 7.5, I mean, yeah, I can see them as a 7-win team.
Yeah,
I could
they're
kind of
they're
see them as an 8-win team. I think I'll go under though.
Yeah, they're plus 190 to make the playoffs, which is not that long odds. So it's going to have to come from a wild card slot, and it's going to be against the Rams or one of those like
They did
scrappy
not make the
teams.
playoffs last year, correct? That was like
No,
one of my preseason bets, and it was like, well, we talked about it. They were like plus 120. We're like, this is the best bet. They're gonna make the playoffs.
yeah, and Carroll couldn't get it on his last year, but new era, and we'll see what they look like. They'll be a scrappy team for sure, but it just won't be quite enough. They'll build on it though, and they'll continue to be good and competitive.
Yeah. All right. I don't think there's any futures really for the Seahawks that we're gonna look at outside of that. Now we look at the Arizona Cardinals that were honestly kind of a fun and frisky team last year, right?
Yes,
I mean, we thought that they were going to be the worst team in the NFL. I'm not saying that they weren't, okay? But what I'm saying is they had some really frisky wins. It was the Cardinals, right, that beat the Cowboys?
yeah, they beat the
Just like
Eagles too, Katie.
yes. Yes, right? And so, like, ever since then, I was like, respect. And they went through a million quarterbacks as well in their season last year. Their win total is set to 7. I feel like last year it was like 5.5 or 4.5 or 5 or something. So we've seen an increase here in this. Their odds to win the division 13-1. Don't take that bet. Playoff plus 300. Not sure about that either. Kyler Murray, make or break season for him, Danny. What do you think?
It gotta feel like one. I mean, every year is another rebuild year. Like the Cardinals are never there. When they had Cliff Kingsbury under the helm and it was pretty competitive in the division, that was like the time that the Cardinals might pop. But Murray wasn't ready then. He was still too young, and they
Yeah.
had a more talented roster. Now it feels like, even with Jonathan Gannon kind of surprising us last year with his ability to fire up the team. Remember, we
Yeah.
were all laughing about that pregame speech he had or preseason speech. Is there fire in your gut? Did you take the bus here? We were like, bro, really? Like a bus pass is the
And it
motivation? Like,
turns out he's pretty motivating.
get back on the bus because that is making me hungry when I show up to work. And it worked. I mean,
Strap in.
they played
Put
hard
on
for
your
him.
seatbelt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the rule. It's the law. But like, they played hard for him, right? They showed up for this guy, and
Yeah.
7 is the right number. I feel like it's going to be 6 or 7. It's right there.
Yeah.
I lean 6 just because of like the opening
Yeah.
schedule for them.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Bills, Rams, Lions, Commanders, Niners, Packers. Like that's 5. That's like 4 or 5 playoff teams in the first 5-6 weeks. So it's just a rough start. You could easily be going 1-5, and then I'm hoping they beat up on the lesser teams. I think Murray will have moments. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will show out his talent. He has all the
I
potential in the
agree.
world to win Rookie of the Year with
Yep.
potentially a lot of
Yep.
garbage time moments in games too to just rack up
Yep.
stats and
Yep.
TDs. But that's what we'll be looking for is Marvin Harrison's potential and to see what the
Yep.
Cardinals will keep building towards. Just they're a year away from being a year away,
Couldn't have said it better
and some
myself.
and some.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. They're a year away from being a year away and possibly another year away. But yeah, I mean, I do think coaching wise, much better than I thought they were going to be. And Kyler Murray, like you said, still has these moments where you're like, oh yeah, he's him. He's still him. Mighty Mouse is what I like to call him. The problem is he's short and sometimes can't see over these defenses. But I agree with you on Marvin Harrison Jr. too. His odds for a rookie of the year plus 650. I really do like that bet. Yeah, I'll lean under for them. The Cardinals are going to be a team that I like to bet game to game. This
Yes.
is, again, they've shown that they can be frisky. They've shown that they can win games that you don't think they're going to win. I think betting on their season, I kind of want to see how they look, but this will be a team that I probably fire on every single weekend or pick the spots rather than season total.
1,000%. The Cardinals are a great team to like upset the public. Oh, the Eagles
Yeah.
are headed to town. The Eagles just put a thumping on the Cowboys, and the Eagles win 40-20. Right? We're headed to Arizona. Oh my goodness, this thing's going to be over by halftime. And what do you know? The Cardinals lose by 3 and cover plus 16.5. Right? Like pick those spots to back an ugly, ugly team when no one thinks they got a chance. And they beat the Eagles and Cowboys outright last season, still with their terrible, terrible record. So anything's possible game to game. Find the spots. Find the letdown spots for the other team.
Yeah, agreed. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're talking WNBA. You're watching Mox Bets. We'll be right back. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. Welcome back to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Katie Mox here with Danny Brasco. Before we go on this last episode on ESPN and with Omaha Productions, let's talk some WNBA. We've got the LA Sparks versus the New York Liberty. It is a 14.5 spread favoring the Liberty. Danny, this total 164.5. I'm sure you saw yesterday Cameron Brink tearing her ACL, which is just so sad. Obviously, the number 2 overall pick in the draft really started to come into her game, was selected for the 3-on-3 basketball team for the Olympics. And now she's suffering a surgery, or excuse me, an injury that of course will require surgery. I kind of want to give the Sparks this 14.5, even though the Liberty are the best team in the NBA. You got to think, coming off of losing your star player, that's when a lot of people rally around, and they have shown in recent weeks they can hang on with good. They're not going to win this game, but 14.5 might be too much.
I like the point about rallying around, like role players stepping up, and that has happened. They've had
Yeah.
a couple role player. McDonald has looked really good, someone that they've been waiting to come into form. So, because I know this because I was watching and betting their last game. The second that play happened with Cameron Brink, it was a super weird, like hyper extension of her foot.
Should
The
be carried
commentators
off.
made nothing of it. They were like, "Oh, Brink's still on the floor." I wonder, like, I knew immediately she tore a ligament. It was super awkward the way it happened. Long, lanky legs. It was an awkward fall.
Aw.
So that stinks because, like you said, she's had some struggles early, but she actually had a couple games she rattled off where she
Yeah.
was swatting blocks and snatching
Yep.
rebounds, playing a lot
Yep.
better. I like setting hard screens. She looked like she was starting to flow in the game a little more. Who was not flowing in the game a little more is the rest of the Sparks team. Katie, every single play was a turnover liability. Like they were so out of sorts,
Yeah.
whether it was on an entry pass or an illegal screen. It looked ugly. And without Brink there now, who was one of the brighter spots of their team, I think they might be liable to lose by 25 tonight. So I know that.
Oh, so
I know that
you're
wanna
laying this
give 'em-
14.5.
I'm laying it, Katie. I don't think you should be afraid to lay
Oh.
it. The Liberty have the number 1 offensive rating in the WNBA. The Sparks are dead last in assist to turnover ratio. So we have one offense that's clicking on all cylinders, that's dropping 100 on some decent teams. We have another that is turning the ball over at a tremendous rate and having trouble facilitating on the offensive end. So I think it comes down to that simply, and the Liberty probably win by 20 plus tonight.
I mean,
Go New York.
Go New York, go New York, go. Okay, fine,
Lady
fair.
Liberty.
Fair. Anything else on the WNBA side or the cricket side? That since those are your two sports these days that you're looking at, that people should know, maybe fire on some bets this weekend.
I don't have anything cricket for you. The T20 World Cup remains on. It's so thrilling. India and Afghanistan just played in a great match. I love live betting cricket. The game is it's almost like basketball. It's a game of runs, right? You could bet a team like plus 4.5 at the beginning of the game. They go down 12-2 to start the game. You could bet them plus 10.5 all of a sudden. So cricket is very similar to that the game, has a ton of variance. So You wait for a big play to happen, you bet the opposite side. I've been doing a lot of that successfully, and it's cool to just take in all the culture from all around the world.
Yeah.
Like, I'm learning about the history and cultural significance of it. Major League Cricket is coming to America, and I think it's going to catch a little bit. I think baseball fans will find similarities that will entertain them and have them drawn to this. So look out for the sport to grow a little bit after this World Cup
Okay.
tournament.
Is
And
it going
look
to be
out for
called what,
some
MLC, Major League Cricket,
That's it,
MLC?
Katie. Yeah, it starts in July. So I'll be all over it. And I hope the game grows
Is
a
there
little
a
bit.
New York team?
Yeah, they're going to be New York teams. I think they have a stadium in Long Island they'll play at. I'll probably head out to a game. So, I'm
Wow.
excited. I want cricket to
Yeah.
come into the fray in American media.
Yeah.
And
Look,
hoping I can.
there's room for everybody.
That's right.
There's room
That's
for
right.
everybody.
So yeah,
I love
bring
that.
on the international games. I love it.
And then what about the WNBA? Anything else you're looking at this week?
No, we got a day game actually going on right now. Sky are playing as we speak, so I'm going to look at that. But W remains exciting to me. I'm almost happy that the NBA season is over. It's just such a wild season that
Yeah.
I feel like I could focus a little more clearly on the WNBA. By the way, a lot more people and a lot more money is wagered on the NBA. It makes it a sharper market, right?
Yes.
I find the
Yes.
WNBA is a little softer market. Sometimes you can find lines that you can exploit a little easier and find advantages. So that's what I'm most looking forward to, is just focusing on the WNBA now that other stuff is over.
Yeah, and there's also so much more data on the NBA than the WNBA too. So books have those lines. They can look back 10, 15, 20 years and be able to figure stuff out. Whereas the WNBA, I think they're still trying to figure it out. So like you said, there are some soft spots that you can exploit more in these newer sports, which is why Danny has been firing off on cricket and the WNBA. And yeah, I mean, this was probably one of the most boring NBA finals we've had in a long time. Congratulations to the Boston Celtics with their 18th title, right? I think they've surpassed now
Yeah.
the Lakers, but it was like, I mean, think about like what was a moment in this NBA finals that like you were like, oh my God, right? I mean,
It's so true. And like, I can't quite characterize it, but like, that's a
no
good way.
storyline. No, I mean, I guess the storyline of like if Kyrie went off in Boston, sure that would be a storyline, but he never did.
And
He
you
never
know
did.
what's funny? Surely Boston fans will, dislike this. Obviously, get the New York hat on. We get the Niners takes here, so we're not like thrilled for Boston. It's just from a fandom perspective, but even just in general, like NBA culture, just feels like the sentiment around the league. No one was overjoyed for the Celtics. There wasn't some big, like it just felt like a meh series, like a flat series that. I don't know, that anti-hero won. Like, what? There's no one hateable on the Celtics. I don't dislike anyone really strongly. They're just like flat almost. They're beautifully and efficiently flat. They're dropping
Right.
threes. They're outplaying teams. They're doing everything right. They're winning an NBA Finals 4-1, and no one cares. Like, what's going on? I can't quite
Yeah.
characterize it.
Yeah, and like I'm not unhappy for the Celtics. I just didn't think this series was all that exciting. And maybe that's the Mavericks' fault because they didn't put up a good fight except
Sure.
for the one blowout game, which didn't even matter. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Danny, thank you so much for committing your time to this podcast over the last 2 years. It's been such a joy to do with you. I'm so glad that we got to do this together as often as we did. Thank you so much to Omaha Productions. What a wonderful company to work with. It's been an amazing 2 years. It's possible that Moxie Bets shows up somewhere else. We're not exactly sure. But to ESPN and to Omaha, thank you so much for the opportunity. We have had a blast. This has been, and to Caesars, thank you so much to Caesars as well. This has been Moxie Bets presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Thank you for watching, and we will see you somewhere.